Abang Johari now referred as Premier of Sarawak. Drug worth an estimated of 1.2 million ringgit seized and no major bribery case in Sarawak. Those are the headlines for tonight. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Muhammad Yusuf and this is TVS Nightline. Top of the news. Effective today, Datuk Patinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg will be officially referred as Premier of Sarawak. Sarawak State Secretary Datuk Amar Jaul Samion said the term came into force following the amendments to the Sarawak Constitution, which were passed by the State Legislative Assembly on February 15. The Constitution of the State of Sarawak Amendment Ordinance 2022 to replace the title Chief Minister with Premier, Deputy Chief Minister with Deputy Premier, and Assistant Minister with Deputy Minister has been gazetted and will take effect starting today. The amendments to change the designation of Chief Minister to Premier were passed by the State Legislative Assembly with more than a two-thirds majority when 67 members voted in favour while 6 members opposed. State Tourism, Creative Industry and Performing Arts Minister Datuk Seri Abdul Karim Rahman Hamzah, who tabled the bill then, said the amendment under Article 6(3) of the State Constitution was in accordance with the amendment of the Federal Constitution enforced on February 11. Now, Deputy Premier Datuk Seri Dr. Sim Kui Hian has tested positive for COVID-19 after taking a PCR test prior to an official overseas trip. In a Facebook post, Dr. Sim said the result outcome came as a shock, as he had always complied with the standard operating procedures SOPs, such as wearing double mask, constantly washing his hands and frequent daily self-testing.
Dr. Sim added that he had displayed no symptoms and his daily self-test that he took every morning appeared negative. In his post, he said this proves how infectious and how challenging it is to fight the COVID-19 Omicron surge. Dr. Sim, who is also the Minister of Public Health, Housing and Local Government, had reported his case through the MySejahtera app and is now undergoing his self-isolating and self-monitoring for 7 days, as stated in the latest SOPs announced by the Ministry of Health, MOH. Dr. Sim took the opportunity to apologize to those who were in contact with him over the past few days and reminded the public to always comply with the latest SOPs to curb the spread of the coronavirus.
Now, Tun Pehin Sri Abdul Taib Mahmud has sworn in as the Governor of Sarawak for the third term on Tuesday, March 1st. The ceremony was held at the State Legislative Assembly Dun, witnessed by Premier of Sarawak, Datuk Patinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg, and Sabah Sarawak Chief Judge Tan Sri Datuk Abang Iskandar Abang Hashim. Prior to the swearing-in, Registrar of Ceremonies Datu Mustafa Han requested decree from His Excellency to begin the ceremony. Abang Johari then commenced with the reading of the letter of appointment. His Excellency proceeded to sign letter of oath witnessed by Iskandar and then the letter of declaration witnessed by Abang Johari. Taib's first ascension as the governor took place on March 1st, 2014, while his second took place on March 1st, 2018. During the same ceremony, His Excellency received the Guard of Honor from the 10th Battalion of General Operations Force PGA Kuching at the Dunes Complex. Also present were the wife of His Excellency, Toh Puan Datuk Patinggi Ragat Kurdi Taib, Premier of Sarawak's wife, Puan Sri Datuk Amar Jumaani Tun Tuanku Bujang, Deputy Premier Datuk Amar Douglas Ugah Embas, State Secretary Datuk Amar Jaul Samion, and other dignitaries. On to the next news. The Ministry of Transport has assured that they will continue to monitor and ensure that safety measures of water transport facilities in Sarawak are kept at its highest level. These include water facilities at tourist attractions and recreational areas.
Kementerian saya di bawah Lembaga Sungai-Sungai Sarawak, kita sentiasa akan memantau kemudahan-kemudahan di sini dan menentukan bahawa mereka mematuhi segala langkah-langkah keselamatan yang diperlukan di bawah the Sarawak Rivers Ordinance. Ya, kerana tasik pun di bawah Sarawak Ordinance. Kita juga jaga tasik juga pada ketika ini.
He told this to reporters after a special briefing on the master plan for the development of Tasik Biru Resort City in Bau on Tuesday, adding that he is satisfied with the operations carried out at Tasik Biru Resort City, especially with the availability of boat crews and paddleboat activities.
In the same development, Transport Minister Datuk Seri Lee Kim Shin stated that the solar-powered street lighting project tender from Baut to Batu Kitang will be open on 2nd March 2022. The project involves the supply of approximately 285 units of solar-powered street lamp and is expected to accommodate road users, especially surrounding residents, ahead of the upcoming Gawai celebration.
Ongkosnya 2 juta untuk improve the road safety at that time. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Deputy Minister of Transport, Datuk Henry Jinep, is confident that the installation of the street lamps can be completed within 3 months. Elaborating further, he said the street lamps will also be moved to surrounding villages in need after the completion of the 4-lane road construction in Bau.
Dan lampu solar ini apabila dipasang nanti dan apabila pembinaan jalan raya jelaya yang 4 lane diguna dan kita gunakan lampu yang permanen yang disambung daripada Sesko. Dan lampu solar ini boleh digunakan pakai di tempat-tempat lain di kawasan luar bandar, di tempat-tempat selekoh, di tempat-tempat yang bahaya gelap dan sebagainya.
Henry said this measure was made to avoid wastage and ensure the continuous use of these solar-powered lamp.
Now, Roxy Tasik Biru Resort City Bau will beef up its security measures by increasing its patrol at its facility. Managing Director of Tectonic Sons Holding Sendirian Berhad Lee Chin Tek noted that the proposal was intended to further enhance the level of safety for its visitors and guests.
Safety always number one, because I give them the life jacket and all that. And eventually I was thinking, because after Datuk Lee Kim Shin visit to there, I'm thinking to put a petrol boat. So that ini jaga keselamatan.
In another development, Chintak responded the complaints regarding the entry fee charges, which were alleged to be too expensive. However, he said this is following the high cost of maintaining and ensuring the cleanliness of the facility, and assured that his management would continue to improve the facilities at the recreation center.
And I'm going to do the temple. Itu 200 tahun punya temple to connect using a cable car. Phase 3 ada golf course lagi. So eventually this is a big project coming out.
Right. The Batang Rajang Water Transfer Project, which will involve 20 million litres per day or MLD from the Set River to supply clean water for Phase 1 of the Tanjung Manis Water Supply Project, has reached 70.43%. The project, according to the Minister of Utility and Telecommunication, Datuk Julaihi Narawi, is worth 16 million ringgit, was awarded to the contractor via open tender.
Dan ianya sepatutnya siap pada bermula pada 1 Julai 2020, sepatutnya siap pada 30 bulan Jun 2021. Tetapi terlambat disebabkan oleh kekurangan pekerjaan. Namun ianya ada diberi EOT. Kita jangka ianya akan dapat siap pada 30 hari bulan Jun 2022. Maknanya by 30th of June, projek direct water intake ini akan siap.
Julaihi clarified that the 20 MLD project would feature a lake that has a capacity of 65 mld before water are disbursed.
Water intake itu adalah daripada Sungai Batang Rajang, Isa. Jadi ianya akan dimasuk dalam kolam yang dalamnya 3 meter, panjangnya 1 kilometer, 1 kilometer dan lebarnya 100 meter. Jadi ianya boleh menyimpan air sebanyak 65 mld sebelum dipam kepada sistem bekalan air di Tanjung Manis untuk diproses.
Currently, Tanjung Manis's clean water is supplied by the Bayong Water Treatment Plant, monitored by the Sarike Rural Water Supply Department. Upon the project's completion, July he said the plant would stop all water supply to Tanjung Manis as clean water would be supplied by a new water treatment plant.
Nak sentiasa tampil bergaya? Dah tak tahu nak pakai baju apa? Jangan lupa saksikan saya, Siti Zawawi, dalam program Fashion of the Day #FOTD setiap hari Rabu jam 10.15 pagi hanya di TVS Saluran 122 Astro dan My View. Beauty Tips membawakan kepada anda bukan sahaja kecantikan luaran dan dalaman, tapi kami akan kongsikan juga kepada anda petua kecantikan semula jadi. Jangan lupa saksikan saya Azwa Shah dan Siti Zawawi setiap hari Jumaat jam 10.15 pagi hanya di TVS Saluran 122 Astro dan My View.
Dalam episod seterusnya, My Husband-in-Law.
ในเมื่อกล้าขอพี่ก็กล้าพอที่จะให้
นี่แกคิดว่าจะฟันน้องแล้วทิ้งใช่ไหมแกจะแลดเหมือนกับที่แกทำกับผู้หญิงคนอื่นใช่ไหมแกอย่าคิดนะว่าฉันไม่รู้จักพฤติกรรมแกเนี่ยฮะไอ้ลูกไม่รักดีถ้ารู้ว่าแกเกิดมาแล้วจะเป็นอย่างนี้นะจะเอาเท่ายัดปากแกตั้งแต่แรกแล้ว
แถมมีคนเมาด้วยนะว่าเดินเข้าออกห้องติดเทียนตอนเช้าด้วยแหละ
เธอไปสืบมาเลยว่าสองคนนี้ยังไงกันแน่เต็กเทียนจะมีชู้กับผู้หญิงที่มีสามีแล้วจริงๆหรอ
Jangan lupa untuk menyaksikan My Husband-in-Law setiap Isnin hingga Khamis 8.45 malam di TVS Saluran 122 Astro dan My TV.
Welcome back to TVS Nightline. Now, on to some COVID updates. The number of COVID-19 cases in Sarawak spiked to 4-digit once again, with 1,248 cases reported today compared to 442 cases yesterday. The cumulative number of COVID-19 cases in Sarawak now stands at 261,060 cases. The Sarawak State Disaster Management Committee (SDMC) announced that 3 districts recorded 3-digit cases, with Kuching topping the list with 430 cases, followed by Miri 238 and Cebu 180. Another 11 districts recorded between 10 and 82 new cases, while 21 more recorded between 1 and 9 cases. Of the new cases, 18 cases were classified under lung infections that require oxygen and ventilator assistance. Meanwhile, the country today recorded 23,100 new COVID-19 infections. However, only 186 cases, or 0.81% of the total cases, were registered as categories 3, 4, and 5. A fire incident recently took place in Kampung Bahagia Jaya, Cebu, and razed the affected house to the ground. According to Sarawak Fire and Rescue Department Bomba Deputy Director Tiong Ling Hee, Bomba received a distress call at 8:12 p.m.
Setelah hadir pada kebakaran yang di Kampung Bahagia Cebu dan mendapati ada 3 orang mangsa rentung lah yang berumur 50-an, 81 dengan 18 tahun. Ada 3 orang mangsa. Bangunan terbakar 100% dan kita hadir pun kebakaran telah marak dengan besar. Ada 3 orang mangsa. Kita telah kena pasti 3 orang mangsa, 2 wanita, seorang lelaki.
A total of 2 assets were deployed to the scene, alongside 19 bomba officers from 2 fire stations. The identity and total loss from the fire are still under investigation.
Now moving on, police seized 1.2 million ringgit worth of various illicit drugs from a drug trafficking syndicate actively operating in Kuching. A 27-year-old man was arrested in 3 operations within the capital city, has been held remand for 7 days until March 5th to facilitate investigation under Section 39B of the Dangerous Drugs Act.
Sarawak Acting Commissioner of Police, Datuk Mancha Atta, said the suspect was arrested at a 5-foot way off an eatery along Jalan Penrison on February 27. The suspect then led the police to a courier company at Jalan Tun Ahmad Zaidi Adrus and a house in Kampong Bumbok. Mancha broke down the drugs seized, amounting to 25 kilograms from the raids that involves 12,258 grams of shabu worth 462,888 ringgit packed in translucent sheets and 13,376 grams of ketamine worth 735,680 ringgit wrapped in food packages. It is believed that the drugs were couriered from West Malaysia. He added that the suspect tested negative for drug and had no previous criminal record. 2 vehicles were also seized during the raids.
Right, a total of 18 compounds were issued to food premises that failed to comply with the hygiene standards during a mass operation conducted by the Health Ministry. Of the 18, 2 were 500 ringgit compounds which were issued under ruling number 11, where premise owners failed to present a record of food safety training, health inspections and the administration of anti-typhoid vaccine.
Sarike District Health Officer Dr. Emmanuel Joseph Fong Sung said 11 of the other compounds were issued on individuals who were not dressed in accordance with food safety measures such as apron, head cover and shoes.
Ini merupakan penjangkahan di bawah peraturan 32 dan notis compound pun telah dikeluarkan untuk mereka ini. Selain itu, pihak kami juga mengeluarkan notis compound di bawah peraturan 33 akibat tidak menjaga kebersihan diri, berkuku panjang dan memakai perhiasan diri seperti cincin, gelang tangan ataupun jam tangan kepada individu-individu tersebut.
The clean premise ops conducted under the Food Act 1983 and Food Hygiene Regulations 2009 saw the deployment of 12 assistant environmental health officers, 2 assistant public health officers and 2 operation drivers. Emmanuel stressed that all compounds will need to be paid within 14 days. Premises that failed to meet the hygienic standard, with presence of rats and cockroaches found or food safety measures are not practiced, will be instructed to close under Section 11 of the Food Act 1983.
Oleh itu, ini menunjukkan bahawa kepatuhan ini masih boleh diperbaiki. Namun terdapat juga pemilik premis yang memang patuhlah kepada semua peraturan dan arahan yang telah dikeluarkan. Untuk mereka tu saya rasa bersyukur dan terima kasih. Tujuan operasi ini adalah penting untuk mengukuhkan pematuhan dan juga memperkasa para pemilik. Tujuan dia adalah berprinsip mencegah daripada lebih baik daripada merawat.
Now, when it comes to cases involving bribes, Sarawak does not hold a record of any major incidences. Instead, it did not report any increase in the number of cases.
According to the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, Chief Commissioner Tan Sri Azam Baki, the trend of bribery in Sarawak is considered stable. However, he proposed to the state government to emphasize on cases involving false claims and misuse of power amongst civil servants, which could incur big losses to the government if left unchecked. From 2017 to 2021, 72 cases of false claims and 25 cases of misuse of power were reported. And from the reports, 34 and 24 arrests were made respectively.
Now, the government expects its tax revenue collection to return to pre-pandemic levels by meeting or surpassing the target of 139 billion ringgit this year. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said to achieve this goal, the Inland Revenue Board or IRB management must develop short and mid-term plans that will allow it to reach its target while continuing to perform well in the future. Ismail added that this includes identifying new economic sectors and implementing the tax laws in a transparent, effective and efficient manner. Indirectly, the effort will increase the Malaysian family's trust and ensure that taxpayers fulfill their responsibilities. The Prime Minister said this in his speech for IRB's 26th Revenue Day celebration in Cyberjaya today. The text of his speech was read out by Finance Minister Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Abdul Aziz. For 2021, Ismail Sabri said revenue collection jumped 17% year-on-year to more than 140 million ringgit, while the country's gross domestic product grew by 3.1% compared with a 5.6% contraction in 2020. Now, Ports in Malaysia does not deal or operate directly with any ports in Ukraine, but rather focuses with those located in Turkey and Malta too. Transport Minister Datuk Seri Wee Ka Siong said such were the direct effect of the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, though it did not negatively impact the ports itself, but rather in terms of business relationship. We said Malaysia is guided by a policy that honors the constitution and the sovereignty of the law in any endeavors the country undertakes domestically or internationally. He further stated that 2 ports in Malaysia were ranked amongst the top 20 busiest port globally in 2021. Port Klang was ranked 12th, while the Tanjung Pelepas port in Johor was ranked 15th. Aside from that, Malaysia have also recorded an outstanding achievement in the maritime sector for excellence in managing the COVID-19 pandemic.
Mun mau tahu sini Siti makan minggu tu? Jangan lupa saksikan kami Siti Zawawi setiap hari Selasa pada jam 6.15 petang hanya di TVS saluran 122 Astro dan My View. Makan-makan!
跟随4位不同舞蹈背景的舞者，体验沙劳越当地传统文化、美食和舞蹈。在这一集中，我们将去到沙劳越思吴的 Melanau 屋，体验 Melanau 传统文化。舞者们能在一天结束前学会这 Melanau 传统舞蹈吗？让我们一起尽情期待。
Dalam kebangkitan Ertugrul di musim kedua. Ertugrul menjadi tawanan musuh dan nyawa menjadi taruhan. Pergelutan, pengkhianatan dan penentangan semakin melemahkan puak kayu. Apakah nasib yang akan menimpa Ertugrul dalam tawanan musuh kali ini?
Günü geceyi, feleği döndüren, zamana hükmeyleyen Rabbim.
Mampukah Ertugrul menyelamatkan diri dan kembali memimpin puaknya?
Kurban olduğum Allah'ım.
Dalam kebangkitan Ertugrul, musim kedua, setiap Isnin hingga Kamis, 9.30 malam, hanya di TVS saluran 122 Astro dan My TV.
Welcome back to TVS Nightline. Now onto some global update. On the Ukraine-Russia saga, Ukraine has not yet achieved the desired results in its negotiations with Russia. In an address to the nation, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said the negotiations took place in Belarus between delegations from Ukraine and Russia, in which they will analyze the counter-offers made by Russia upon their arrival in Kiev. Zelensky added that while the talks in Belarus were ongoing, Russian forces bombarded the city of Kharkiv with rockets. Zelensky said Russia carried out 56 missile attacks and fired 113 cruise missiles against Ukraine in the past 5 days. Noting that 3 rocket attacks were carried out on the capital Kiev in just 1 day, he said Russian sabotage forces are planning to cut electricity to the city. The Ukrainian president said a country that attacks civilians should not be a member of the United Nations and called for all ports, canals, and airports around the world to be closed to Russian planes and helicopters. He also said that Russia should not earn hundreds of billions of dollars from exports of energy resources. Now, home rental company Airbnb said on Monday, February 28, its non-profit arm Airbnb.org would offer free temporary housing for up to 100,000 refugees fleeing Ukraine. Chief Executive Officer Brian Chesky and Joe Gebbia, the chairman of Airbnb.org, have sent letters to leaders of countries who share borders with Ukraine, such as Poland, Romania, Germany, and Hungary, offering help to house the refugees.
The basic situation is that we've been providing housing for people in need for over 10 years. We've housed about 54,000 refugees thus far, including 21,000 Afghan refugees. Around Thursday or Friday, it became really clear to us that there was going to be a humanitarian crisis that was probably going to be much larger, actually, than the one we saw in Afghanistan. And so over the course of the weekend, I had the teams work kind of around the clock. And, this is a all company effort. And we work Airbnb with our Airbnb.org teams and our hosts to prepare this initiative to be able to house up to 100,000 refugees fleeing Ukraine. And what we're really looking for are hosts in Poland, Germany, Hungary, Romania, and other countries west. And so that's what we've been focused on. It's been a pretty intense 48 hours.
At least 300,000 Ukrainian refugees have entered the European Union so far after Russia invaded the country, and the bloc needs to prepare for millions more, senior EU and French officials have said. Airbnb.org, which provides temporary stays for people during crisis, will work closely with governments to help address needs in each country, including by providing longer-term stays. The stays will be funded by Airbnb, donors to the Airbnb.org Refugee Fund, and hosts of Airbnb.org. Several other companies have also offered support to businesses and consumers in Ukraine, with online crafts retailer Etsy Inc. Etsy.o waiving balances of about $4 million USDs owed by sellers in the country. And that's all the time we have for tonight's TVS Nightline. For more news update 24 hours around the clock, you can always follow us on our social media at TVSTVMY on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, of course. My name is Muhammad Yusuf. Good night and stay safe.